Today we will talk a little about our nutrition. Nutrition is the main foundation of human life. Nutrition exists in different forms from the perspective of Ayurveda. It is suitable for different types of people, not only according to their constitution, but also in accordance with their type of activity. In one way or another, any food that we should consume from a higher perspective must be sacred and holy. Food contains prana, the essential life force, and there is also our subtle body, which is known as Annamaya. Anna is food. Our emotional body consists of food. Therefore, when we go on a date with a girl, we try to eat something there, communicate, and experience pleasure while consuming food. We may be invited to a business lunch or a business meeting to discuss business prospects over lunch, or to a corporate event where people gather, eat, and socialize. Because food is a direct connection to our inner fulfillment, and the highest kosha of our body is called Anandaya. That is, the first is our subtle body connected with food, while our higher subtle body is connected with Ananda, with bliss. So if we offer food to the Lord in prayers, vegetarian pure food, without products of killing, and without products of ignorance, such as onions, garlic, or certain ignorant foods that the Lord does not accept, then this food becomes part of our subtle state of Anandamaya bliss. That is to say, not only is it tasty and oily, providing us with nutrients for our body, but it also possesses an element of spiritual energy, spiritual prana. In general, prana is present everywhere. But one of the methods of receiving prana, cosmic energy, is through breathing, and the second is through food. Yogic breathing allows us to receive energy without food, because fundamentally, what happens to food? Our food is nourished by our bifidobacteria, which, so to speak, provide energy, oxygen, hydrogen, and so on. In our cells, that is, it is important to understand that essentially we are feeding our bacteria with food. And therefore, again, it is very important to consider the purity of our intestines, the purity of our organs, which we can cleanse through fasting, various yogic shodhana, and other cleansing processes that we will discuss with you later. But the main point is that if this food possesses spiritual energy, if we offer it to the Supreme Being, then the food always contains the primary elements: water, earth, fire, and air. And the Lord is the source of all these primordial elements. Therefore, when we turn to the Lord in prayer, the Lord blesses us. These primordial elements return to their original divine state within our body, and then we experience a certain inner, subtle spiritual state. Because in addition to the gross physical body and the emotional body, we also have a spiritual body, the soul. And although the soul is not directly located in our virtual body, it is as if it is projected into our virtual body. But spiritual food provides the most subtle, pranic, spiritual nourishment for our soul. One could say that we must feed our soul. If we do not feed the soul, it is as if our soul is hungry. That is, the soul does not receive that very energy, and we are that soul. Our food must be connected to our soul. And spiritual food is not only the consumption of food, it also includes sharing food in the company of healers, listening to spiritual music, engaging in prayers, and being in a spiritual environment. All of this corresponds to our spiritual nourishment. Therefore, it is very important in what state of mind and in what company we consume food. Ideally, we should do this in a sacred manner. We can also do this in solitude. It is very important to be focused, understanding that this food is our spiritual essence. But if we are fortunate enough to do this in the company of Vaishnavas, in a temple during festivals, or if our family has become Vaishnavas, then it is very good, because partaking in sacred food together is such an important process of our spiritual development. But we must remember, we should not turn this process into a trivial secular activity, watching the news, television, listening to some worldly music and so on. No, if we consume spiritual food, we must be internally focused, savor all the flavors, and chew very slowly. Consume it very slowly. Firstly, we will see that we need very little food then. Do not forget that the mind is agitated, and often we overeat simply because we do not have time to feel full. And therefore, food should be consumed in small portions. You might even make yourself a small spoon, just for size, and a small plate, so you understand that your plate should be about the size of a handful. You should eat your food with a teaspoon and chew it 1 teaspoon at a time, and you will see that you need much less food than you usually eat. That is, if you used to eat a plate of food like this, and now you take a smaller one and start eating with a teaspoon, you will essentially see that over time you become satisfied. Therefore, allocate at least 10, 15, preferably 20 minutes for your meal. In other words, it is better if you consume all your food within half an hour, and very slowly. And then you will see that this slow eating over the course of half an hour has completely fulfilled you. And in Ayurveda, they also offer different tastes: bitter, sour, and salty. But why we start with something bitter? It activates our liver, Then at some point we eat something fermented like pickles, then something salty, and then something sweet at the end or at the beginning, for example. It can vary in one way or another while tasting different foods. Sometimes in a certain part of India, they eat sweets first. Sweetness immediately suppresses our painful appetite. By eating sweets, we reduce our appetite, which means that we gradually eat more slowly. We need to eat less. Everyone can determine this for themselves. Usually one starts with bitter foods to stimulate the liver. Then rice, for example, serves as a central component in all dishes. Rasa, soup, some kind of liquid, but it is very important in the process of consuming food to eat it slowly with remembrance of the Lord and with the awareness that this food is sacred. This is when complete absorption, full repackaging, and digestion occur. And remember that for about 30 days or so, the most subtle state transitions into food because we have different bodies, the skeletal system, the muscular system, the nervous system, the circulatory system, and so on in our being. Food goes through different stages, and only gradually, over a certain period of time, does it reach our brain cells, neurons, and the most essential parts of our body. In other words, it's not that you eat quickly, rather this energy takes a long time to reach its final consumers. In other words, we need to nourish not only the bones, but also the muscles, nerves, blood, and so on. And for each type of date, there is its own food. Therefore, it is mainly stated in Ayurveda that food should be medicine. This means that we must treat it with extreme care. And this means that any process of food infusion, all these canned goods, all these pastas, and all sorts of cereals. In other words, all food that is essentially from cans is completely unsuitable for this subtle state of nourishing our system. Not only is it unsuitable, but it is also toxic. That is to say, it has an enormous amount of toxicity. In particular, remember that in public catering, they always cook with cheap oil, such as palm oil and similar types, and many products contain substances that are generally unclear. Therefore, choose your products very carefully. Look for and try to eat perhaps more modestly in terms of variety, but healthier. For example, you can buy some good organic rice, you can buy ghee, and you can cook a stew with just one vegetable. It's not necessary to have 30 different types of vegetables. For example, you can use a little ghee while cooking. It is one of the best oils because it contains the energy of the cow and the sun. You can use a steamer or a pressure cooker for beans or grains, such as green dal, which is very beneficial. You can check our channel again, as we will soon post a cooking school on how to prepare khichdi, which is a dish favored by yogis. It consists of rice, dal, ghee, spices, and a little vegetables. And you can prepare a khichdi that will be very, very tasty. And even if you are somewhere out there, let's say if you can't constantly prepare fresh food, sometimes you can store khichdi in the refrigerator and then reheat it. This is certainly not recommended, but in principle, such dishes, one could say, retain some energy for a sufficiently long time. Although after 3 hours, the food begins to break down. Therefore, it is said that food should be prepared and eaten hot immediately. All Indians will act in this way. So remember that baked products, steamed, yes, boiled, steamed, baked, half raw, and raw products should again have a healthy consistency. There is a time interval between eating raw foods and cooked foods. That is, if you, for example, love raw food, you can prepare a raw dinner or lunch for yourself. And, for example, separate the times when you eat cooked food, while, for instance, your breakfast is raw food. For example, in principle, the Vedas suggest a 2-meal regimen without snacks, an early lunch and perhaps dinner right after sunset or just before sunset. This means that it is preferable not to eat during the actual sunset. As soon as it gets dark, or for example, and if your lunch happened at 11 in the morning, you have endured until 11 in the morning. You can even have lunch at 10 in the morning, so to speak. If you have that opportunity, then the next meal can be at 5 and in between. It is better not to snack between meals, but it is permissible to drink some herbal tea or juice. Juices, herbal teas, or coffee, in principle, 1 cup a day. In principle, it's not that bad. It might help in the morning, but under no circumstances should it be taken before sleep or in the second half of the day. That is, to try to either exclude these tonics or to take them no more than twice a day. In India, tea is generally served in small cups, meaning a small amount. Only then will digestion align and consciousness will adjust when we invite food with a prayer. We will see that by reducing unnecessary snacks, cookies, and treats, our digestion absorbs much better and the body eliminates toxins more quickly in this state. To quickly eliminate toxins, we can also use triphala. It is recommended to consume triphala twice a day. This is an alchemical medicine. It is used throughout Southeast Asia, a powerful medicine Many people do not realize how powerful this medicine is because it has sacred significance. Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, that is, the three gunas. This means it can bring our entire organism into harmony, and therefore, in the morning, we can drink Triphala with warm water. We can also drink, for example, water with Himalayan salt, ginger, and lemon in the morning. Such a powerful mixture in the morning. It gives us the opportunity for absorption. Himalayan salt in small quantities. These trace elements are very important and valuable. Not white salt in any case, but Himalayan pink salt, warm lemon. And ginger will immediately provide us with a boost to immunity, digestion, and the elimination of toxins. And if we also add Triphala morning and evening, our body will be constantly cleansed. And I am talking about a more or less average healthy person. If we have any chronic diseases, we can add some Ayurvedic remedies that correspond to our, let's say, levels, such as ashwagandha, gugul, shilajit. These are all very powerful life tonics that will allow us to function very actively. But it is important to understand that they should be selected according to our constitution. For example, shilajit is not recommended to be consumed during hot weather because it contains a powerful element of fire. And during lunch, we can use some dairy products throughout the day. We should try to incorporate a small amount of dairy products. For example, it could be some kefir, a morning of bifidobacteria. During lunch, we can definitely add ghee, a few teaspoons of ghee. With our vegetables, this is very, very important for our coolness. I always cook with ghee. Ghee is a powerful product. Essentially, Indian ghee is made from Indian cows that have a hump. This is Surinadiya, which is considered like gold. It is a powerful product, and that is why all Ayurvedic medicines work with it. We can use honey every day. Again, there's a recipe for honey water. A spoonful of honey in warm water, not hot. Warm water, lemon, honey, lemon, and ginger. This is a powerful drink that we can consume in the morning. Honey is, in fact, the most subtle primary element and microelement that bees collect from flowers. These are the most powerful extracts of our life. Therefore, we can drink such a honey lemonade, so to speak, warm, definitely not cold. It's a cold refrigerator, and various fermented products are also extremely important for us to maintain intestinal balance. But the main thing to remember is that we must offer all of this to the Lord, and everything should become a part of our yogic spiritual practice. Therefore, it is very important how we enter the day in the morning through drinks, through healthy beverages, through morning fasting, meditation, and prayer. Then, when we are really hungry, we have such a healthy feeling. The hunger has triggered digestion, and the fire has been kindled with the help of ghee and some lightly boiled vegetables to facilitate quicker absorption. We can eat again, as we have already mentioned, a small plate, a small spoon. We eat slowly, satisfying our digestive fire. We do not throw all the firewood into it at once. We gradually add it to the digestive fire, nourishing the food. We can say that we have performed such a sacrifice, and now our body, our consciousness is full of energy to move and serve, to act for the benefit of the Lord and the entire universe. And in this mood, we can nourish ourselves and try to avoid restaurant food, regardless of the restaurant's quality. The simpler the food, for example, you can buy some grains, beans, lentils in bulk, or purchase beets, cucumbers, and vegetables. Again, just a little life hack. For example, if we use juice therapy, which is quite beneficial, in the morning we drink juices, possibly supporting our health. The pulp from the juices can be boiled like broth, and we can strain this pulp through a sieve. We can have a nice vegetable broth where we can add different spices while cooking, and into this vegetable broth we can add some quality noodles or other ingredients. Again, we need to pay attention to eat such good, healthy food, and we will see that after some time, our consciousness will completely change and our health will improve significantly. And the main thing we will understand is that we need much less food, and the longer we want to live, the less food we should consume, because the body expends a tremendous amount of energy on digestion. Food that we do not need can remain in our intestines as fecal stones, rotting there for years, especially since the body cannot eliminate it. This is why yogis always cleanse their intestines. There is an exercise on YouTube called Yogic Shankha Prakshalana, where the intestines are cleansed using salt water. This can be done before Ekadashi. If you have the opportunity, clean the intestines before Ekadashi to observe the fast in a kind of pure state, because when we fast and have many toxins in the body, they start to affect us. Well, naturally, everyone should undergo an anti-parasitic program using herbs that eliminate parasites. This includes bitterness, such as neem. You can read more about this as well. Remember that a person can be clogged with toxins and have many parasites. Parasites, much like in the universe, live in every person. But when we, so to speak, throw a feast for our parasites, by creating stones in the intestines and liver. Various forms of life settle there that constantly drain our energy. And that is why many people are so toxic. They have so many parasites that they are essentially feeding their parasites. And if we can get rid of parasites, undergo detoxes and fasts from time to time, let's say there are very good coffee enemas, various saline enemas, saline flushes with salt, and shank prakshalana, then we will feel much better, much more effective, and 80% of diseases will not affect us at all. Because most diseases are due to the weakening of our immunity, of ojas, tejas, and so on. Here in brief, I told you that it is important to clearly observe what goes in and what comes out. Remember that before eating, it is very important to perform pranayama. Ideally, this should be done in a way that engages the abdominal muscles. What will this provide? It will increase blood flow to our abdominal muscles, meaning otherwise we have stagnation in the abdomen, which is why abdominal massage is very important. Pulling in the abdomen is actually a yogic practice called Mahamudra. Whoever can hold their stomach in during pauses and perform locks is said to conquer all diseases. We will probably record a separate video about such basic pranayama, focusing on working with the muscles of Vata. This is Ayurveda. It is not directly a part of Bhakti Yoga, as you know, but this is part of, so to speak, medical physiology. Certain asanas, twists, specific abdominal movements, and certain breathing exercises will enhance your immunity, consciousness, concentration, and effectiveness. And if you do this at least twice a day for at least 15-20 minutes, you will see incredible results in your health, awareness, and most importantly, effectiveness. Because ultimately, a person must be effective. Therefore, if he effectively leads a life of efficiency, effective planning, and effective spiritual practice, yogic practice, then he progresses very quickly and handles tasks very swiftly because he frees himself from ignorance. All the best, dear friends. Thank you very much.